While the whole world was going through the most unexpected situation of life, the economies of all developed and developing countries were in shambles. The pandemic brought up a serious economic setback on various industries such as the tourism, retail, health, education, entertainment, business, and many more. We people do not want to change our priorities, but this situation had an atrocious effect in most of our lives. Many lost their jobs and had a terrible financial crisis. The immigrant families especially find it highly challenging to make both the ends meet.
We are facing of increasing unemployment, stress and depression on each one's in various manner. Having fear and worry about our own health and the health of our loved ones too. Stress on our financial situation or job or loss of support services we rely on. Most of us facing physical, social problems and psychological issues in daily routines.
During the pandemic situation of COVID-19, we have lost a lot of business opportunities. We were forced to reduce 50% of our manpower. Turnover comes down to 40 to 50% compared to previous years. With the wise vision of UAE rulers and officials, business climate in UAE is in a recovery stage. Hope every sector will have good success in 2021.
When it comes to business, most companies started promoting the concept of work from home, minimizing the number of people coming to the office, whereas some other companies began to lay off people.
ഞാൻ ദുബായ് കേന്ദ്രീകരിച്ച് ഇൻറ്റീരിയർ ഡിസൈനിങ്ങുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് ബിസിനസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരാളാണ്. ഈ കോവിഡ് സമസ്ത മേഖലയും ബാധിച്ചതുപോലെ ഞങ്ങളെയും ബാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. എന്നിരുന്നാൽ തന്നെയും 2021 ഗവൺമെൻറ് ചില സ്റ്റിമുലസ് പാക്കേജൊക്കെ പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ച സ്ഥിതിക്ക് ഒരു തിരിച്ചുവരവുണ്ടാവുമെന്നുള്ള പ്രതീക്ഷയാണ്.
Comparatively among the business, the food industry has been most suffered. Across the globe, restaurants' daily traffic dropped precipitously compared to the same period in 2019. Closures of restaurants caused a ripple effect among the related industries. The COVID-19 pandemic had a huge negative impact on tourism industry. Many countries had introduced travel restrictions in an attempt to limit its spread. A possible long-term impact has been a decline of business and international conferencing, and the rise of the virtual online equivalents concerns has been raised over the effectiveness of travel restrictions to contain the spread of COVID-19.
Like every segment of society, engineering education has undergone profound change during the COVID-19 pandemic. Learning has turned virtual, with engineering faculty forced to adopt a new technology for teaching and to figure out how a hands-on education can be turned into a remote practice.
The educational sector worldwide was affected by the COVID-19, leading to the near total closures of schools, universities and colleges in an attempt to reduce the spread of virus. The impact was more severe for disadvantaged children and their families, causing interrupted learning, compromised nutrition, childcare problems and consequent economic costs to families who could not work. However, the concept of distance learning was adopted by most educational institutions. This has aided to rectify the limitations to an extent, though it could not be equivalent to the on-site learning.
E-learning was a response to a crisis. It helped us to overcome the difficulties created by the pandemic. We could continue the process of learning. We could teach students. We could interact with students. But it cannot replace on-site learning, because in on-site learning the teacher is able to interact with the students, know the pulse of the students, whether they have understood the concepts or not, and therefore in distance learning it's not possible. It's not really possible to know the student well. So I think offline learning is the best.
When we take education sectors, schools and colleges were forced to start online classes. The students and teachers had to face many difficulties to cope up with the syllabus. Students were stressed out. They had many health problems due to overusage of the electronic devices up to a minimum of 10 hours and sitting idle without any physical activities. Students of graduation year are not happy about their educational progress, but there is an advantage of getting a lot of time to prepare, but I don't think that can be considered as a great pros.
Hi, I'm Raison from grade 5. I'm enjoying e-learning a lot. I'm so happy that I'm able to see my teachers and learn good things from them.
The decade of deficits is pushing more schools to figure out how to do more with less. The blended learning introduced in most schools has aided in expanding options, extending access to quality, boosting achievement and improving work conditions for teachers. It was a highly successful attempt and had its advantages such as improving efficiency, personalizing learning, etc.
The COVID-19 has impacted healthcare workers physically and psychologically. Healthcare workers are more vulnerable to COVID-19 infections than the general population due to frequent contact with the infected individuals. They have been required to work under stressful conditions and make difficult decisions involving ethical implications. Many hospitals have scaled back or postponed non-emergency care. This has medical consequences for the people served by the hospitals, and it has financial consequences for the hospitals as well.
Assalamu Alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As this is a new epidemic, it is a real challenge to the health sector. COVID tests become compulsory for all admitting patients, and cohabilitation is also not possible before releasing the result. Usually we are sometimes using one room for 2 or 3 patients like that, but now we cannot use the room for 2 or 3 patients before releasing the COVID result. One of the difficulties faced by the health workers are using the PPE for long time, restriction of the visitors, courses, emotional imbalance for the patients, and most of the time health worker want to solve these issues for the patients also. And the duty timing also changed, and that caused some problem for the staff also.
The UAE is progressing greatly in vaccinating its people. Over 1.275 million people in the country have received the vaccine so far. 2 vaccines are available in UAE as of now. The UAE Ministry of Health and Prevention announced that as per the update of Tuesday, 887,697 total number of shots taken so far across the nation. This initiative is in line with the country's plan to vaccinate more than 50% of the country's population. In the meantime, the MOHAP, along with the health authorized concerned, announced the launch of a national campaign to encourage people to get vaccinated against COVID-19.
The effects of COVID-19 are having a significant impact on the technology sector, affecting raw materials supply, disrupting the electronic value chain, and causing an inflationary risk on products. People became more engaged in electronics for business, education, and almost most sectors were advantaged by online conference and meetings.
Assalamu Alaikum. Due to pandemic, I have been working from home for some months now, and the experience has been quite a difficult one personally. From having distractions at home, not having access to certain technology platforms, to lack of the friendly environment and communication with colleagues, to even health issues. The plus of this would only be the flexibility and convenience is working arrangements and less needs for leave. I do look forward to be back in office too.
Now, wearing a mask, sanitizing, and social distancing are part of our life.
Inexpensive or productive services such as the telemedicine and video conferencing are likely to continue even after this COVID-19 situation. During this lockdown, there have been changes in the way people spend their leisure time. In the areas of hygiene, health, food, medical security, financial security, and personal safety, people probably would continue to spend more money after this pandemic. Let's hope that this global catastrophe will come to an end soon.